A massage chair might seem a bit extravagant, especially these days. 8 different settings, adjustable intensity, plus it's heated, and it just feels so good. Yes, a massage chair might seem a bit extravagant, but when it can come with a car, suddenly it seems quite practical. The all-new 2025 Volkswagen Tiguan, packed with premium features like available massaging front seats, it only feels extravagant.
You just realized that you needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job posts seen on other job sites. Indeed's sponsored jobs help you stand out and hire fast. With sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates so you can reach the people that you want faster. And it makes a huge difference. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Plus, with Indeed sponsored jobs, there's no monthly subscriptions, no long-term contracts, and you only pay for results. How fast is Indeed? Well, in the minute I've been talking to you, 23 hires were made on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. There's no need to wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/BWN. Just go to Indeed.com/BWN right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/BWN. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
And away we go. Episode 1094 of the Al Galdi podcast. It is Friday, June 13th, 2025. It is Friday the 13th. It is the Friday before Father's Day, which is this Sunday. An early happy Father's Day to all the dads listening. This also is the day before the United Football League championship game, which features the DC Defenders. The Defenders versus the Michigan Panthers at the Dome at America Center in St. Louis, Saturday night at 8. And so we say, go Defenders, and we say congrats to Defenders head coach Shannon Harris. He on Thursday morning was named UFL Coach of the Year. Hello and welcome to this Friday installment of the Al Galdi podcast. Still no news on Commanders receiver Noah Brown off him being carted off the field during Wednesday afternoon's mandatory minicamp practice. So we remain in waiting. But our next segment, we'll talk about 2 other Commanders receivers in Luke McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel Sr., as head coach Dan Quinn on Thursday afternoon had some notable things to say about each guy. Would McCaffrey be the player who emerges as the Commanders' WR3 if, in fact, Noah Brown has suffered serious injury? And wait until you hear what Quinn said about the speed of Samuel. And then the following segment, I'll do a lot more on the Commanders off comments from Quinn. What was, in theory, his final session with reporters until training camp, as Quinn did a post-practice press conference on Thursday afternoon. Among the items that we'll get into, the significant expectations for the Commanders in the 2025 season, how quarterback Jayden Daniels is doing, what Quinn is thinking with the right side of the team's offensive line, and what to make of running back Chris Rodriguez Jr. Also on the show, we'll talk Nationals and Orioles. The Nats, they now have lost 5 consecutive games, a 4-3 loss at the Major League leading New York Mets on Thursday afternoon to complete a 3-game sweep. The Nats lost despite scoring 3 runs in the top of the 9th. The O's, they on Thursday evening lost to the American League leading Detroit Tigers 4-1 at Oriole Park at Camden Yards, as the ace of the Tigers and maybe the best pitcher in the majors, that Tarik Skubal tossed 7 scoreless innings with 6 strikeouts. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me, the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Feedback regarding something that we talked about on Thursday's show, episode 1093, the Commanders signing safety and special teams ace Jeremy Reeves to a 1-year contract extension, continuing his journey of entering the NFL as an undrafted free agent out of South Alabama in April 2018. From Scott Salisbury on X, what a great player and story. Thank you for that, Scott. From the Yearns on X, All Pro Revo. Thank you for that, the Yearns. That is a good nickname that evolved for Reeves in 2022. All-Pro Revo, and it turned out to be prophetic because he in January 2023 was named to the Associated Press's All-Pro First Team as its special teamer. Email from Drew on a recent experience with his son. Writes Drew, got this text from my son driving home from his freshman year in college in Kentucky. Quote, listening to Al Galdi while I drive home reminds me of riding to school in the mornings with you. End quote. Of all the parenting mistakes I've made, raising him as a DC sports fan in Charlotte, North Carolina, and now a Galdi listener is not one of them. Been listening since your radio days, wishing you good health and continued success with the podcast Galdi. Much thanks, Drew. Well, thank you very much for that, Drew. That means a lot. And thanks to your son. Hope he's enjoying college in Kentucky. And actually, this makes me think of something that I just experienced with my son. So my son is 7. He's finishing the first grade. And his school 2 weeks ago had this end of the school year festival with all kinds of games and activities and popcorn and cotton candy and a whole lot of other stuff. It was actually a really nice event. I took my son and 4-year-old daughter to the event. And I noticed something at the event in seeing the hundreds of kids running around and doing everything that they were doing, and in seeing the many parents at the event. And do you know what that something that I noticed was? Washington Commanders gear. I noticed a significant number of people wearing Washington Commanders gear. Last year at this festival, I don't think that I saw anyone wearing Commanders gear. This year at the festival, I saw a good number of people wearing Commanders gear. I also saw an adult male, presumably a dad, wearing a Redskins t-shirt. But yes, Commanders merch, well represented at the festival at my son's school. Funny what having a Renaissance season will do. As was said on NBC's The Today Show on that unforgettable, glorious day of 2.2.22, we are the Commanders.
We are the Commanders.
We are the Commanders.
The Commanders. The Washington Commanders.
That's right.
Oh, wow. You didn't waste any time there.
There it is.
That's right. There it is. Former Washington team president Jason Wright. What do you think that Jason would think about Commanders merch being well represented at the festival at my son's school? Actually, do you know what the most popular t-shirt at this festival last year was? I couldn't get over this. Nirvana t-shirts. I last year at this festival saw a bunch of kids, mostly if not entirely girls, wearing Nirvana t-shirts. That was pretty funny. I mean, Nirvana has not existed since April 1994 when the lead singer Kurt Cobain killed himself. But there we were, June 2024, with a lot of kids wearing Nirvana t-shirts. And no problem with that now. Nirvana, all-time great band. The MTV Unplugged with Nirvana, a classic, a 5-star classic, one of the greatest concerts ever. To this day, I listen to songs from that. The Man Who Sold the World, About a Girl, so many good songs from the MTV Unplugged with Nirvana. But yeah, Commanders merch, well represented at this year's festival at my son's school. Up next, we discuss the third and final day of the Commanders' 2025 mandatory minicamp. Hey, if you happen to be listening to this podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you can write a review of the podcast saying that you like it. The review can be just a sentence or two, but the reviews help out the podcast a lot. Thank you for doing them. The Commanders on Thursday concluded their 2025 mandatory minicamp, which took place at the team facility, what officially is Ortho Virginia Training Center at Commanders Park in Ashburn, Virginia. This was a 3-day minicamp that marked the end of the team's 2025 offseason program, and now we have a break of about a month and a half until the start of training camp in late July. Thursday's minicamp practice took place in the late morning. Was a short practice, after which the team hosted a cookout for players and their families, and included in the festivities was a bounce house for kids. How about that? Among those in attendance at Thursday's minicamp practice were Commanders managing partner Josh Harris, limited partners Mitchell Rales and Mark Ein, and advisor Bob Myers. And we still are waiting on news on Commanders receiver Noah Brown. He was carted off the field during Wednesday afternoon's minicamp practice. As I am recording this late night on Thursday night, still no news on what the injury is or isn't or might be or can't be or anything. I tell you, General Manager Adam Peters has the Commanders on lock these days. Seemingly nothing is being leaked by the team that the team doesn't want leaked. Heck, Commanders head coach Dan Quinn, he during his post-practice press conference early Thursday afternoon wouldn't even say what body part Noah Brown may or may not have injured. Take a listen to this back and forth between Commanders insider John Keim of ESPN and Quinn.
Can you update us on Noah Brown?
I have no update. I know he's getting an MRI today, this afternoon. So, I don't want to speculate.
On what?
MRI today, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so Dan Quinn wouldn't even say what Noah Brown was getting an MRI exam on. Again, Adam Peters has the Commanders on lock these days. No leaks, at least no unwanted leaks from the team these days. So hopefully, on Monday's show, we'll have some Noah Brown news to discuss. Hopefully good news. In the meantime, Dan Quinn, during his post-practice press conference on Thursday afternoon, did have some interesting things to say about two other Commanders receivers. If Noah Brown has suffered a serious injury, that only heightens the significance of this coming season for receiver Luke McCaffrey. The Commanders took McCaffrey in the third round of the 2024 NFL Draft out of Rice. McCaffrey played college football for 5 seasons. He played for Nebraska for the 2019 and 2020 seasons and played for Rice for the 2021 through 2023 seasons. But he, over his first 3 collegiate seasons, 2019 through 2021, was essentially a combo quarterback running back. He, over his final 2 collegiate seasons, 2022 and 2023, was essentially a combo receiver running back. So he is new to the position of receiver. He is very athletic. McCaffrey registered a relative athletic score per Kentley Platty of 9.44. That ranked number 192 out of 3,402 receiver prospects from 1987 through 2024. McCaffrey played in all 17 of the Commanders games in the 2024 regular season and in all 3 of the Commanders games this past postseason, but he did not play much and did not do much. McCaffrey this past regular season played on just 36.03% of the Commanders' offensive snaps and had 18 receptions for 168 yards and no touchdowns on 24 targets. McCaffrey seemed snake-bitten. He would be open, but the ball did not come his way often. Do you remember quarterback Jayden Daniels in the Commanders' 36-33 win over the Philadelphia Eagles at Northwest Stadium this past December 22nd, having 5 touchdown passes, but also 2 interceptions? Well, the target on each pass that resulted in an interception was Luke McCaffrey. The guy could not catch a break. McCaffrey, over the Commanders' 3 games this past postseason, no receptions on 1 target. Yeah, 1 target over the 3 games. The very last exchange of Dan Quinn's post-practice press conference on Thursday afternoon was this exchange between Commanders insider Liam Griffin of the Washington Times and Quinn.
Players' superpowers and this second-year leap that they can take. How have you seen Luke McCaffrey kind of hone that uniqueness during this period?
Yeah, I think going into year 1 with Luke, there was never a question like how hard he was going. It's like a golden retriever and a tennis ball. You throw it, he went, pick it up, and he's running back, and he's like the tail's wagging, and he'd throw it again, and he goes, and he's like he couldn't go hard enough. Like he was so committed to being a competitor that there was nothing like his limit of how he can go physically. It's way out there. Like he is very tough-minded. What I saw this year was like the detail and footwork of route running, and it was so evident of the work that he put in during his time away from here. And then so to see that come to life, I didn't really need to see what the competitor was. Like I already knew like this guy is an absolute dog. So then to see the technique and the footwork to go with it, that made me really smile, because if the competitor's right and you can match the skill part to it, man, you really have something. And if you've got good skill, but the competitor's not right, it's really hard to be an exceptional, because when it gets really hard, that's when you need the absolute dog the most. And there's some plays in the NFL that are really hard. 7-on-7 and throwing against zone and routes on air. There's a lot of people in America can do that. It gets hard and somebody's pressing you man to man and you break them off and win. And after a catch, like those are the things that I've seen from him this offseason as a really polished receiver. Was I surprised that he did it? No, because I knew he's a person, if I go back to the competitor, like he's going to find a way or make a way. And he found a way to get those things just right because he was fairly new at the position, you know, from being in college, transferring, even playing quarterback there and moving to receiver. So Adam's vision was there earlier, you know, that he saw the Senior Bowl, the competitor. Then I got to see that to say, okay, I see it too. And then I knew spending time with Bobby that would take place to go there. And so it was cool to see him coming into year 2 as a really polished route runner.
All right, so a lot there from Dan Quinn on Luke McCaffrey. Big upcoming season for him. And then also from Dan Quinn on Thursday afternoon was high praise for the speed of receiver Deebo Samuel Sr. And that especially stood out because, as you may know, there is video of Samuel running a route and catching a pass at a minicamp practice this week. And he, in that video, does not exactly look super fast. And the video has gone viral, although as his former teammate, current San Francisco 49ers tight end George Kittle has pointed out, how Samuel was running or jogging. This is how players practice in these offseason practices. But this was Dan Quinn Thursday afternoon on Deebo Samuel.
Deebo, I think, has been very impressive to me for maybe a different reason than I thought. He was such a difficult person to tackle that you spent so much time, how are you going to tackle this person? And somewhere along the way, I've forgotten until out here, like how fast he is. And so sometimes when you're playing against a receiver, you say, man, you better either get him at the line or you better be on top of him. With him so many times there was so many run after catch plays that we had a tackling plan and how would you go about it. And then I can remember one time like he just ran by somebody down the field on a deep ball and I was like, yeah, I forgot about that. So it didn't surprise me, but it was like maybe I missed talking about it to that space because it was easily reminded like he's one of the fastest players on the team.
Wow, Dan Quinn right there gushing about the speed of Deebo Samuel. Interesting timing given that viral video, which, by the way, did not bother me and is not a big deal. And as you may recall, Commanders analyst and former Redskins tight end Logan Paulson, he on episode 1084 of this podcast talked about having been very impressed with Samuel in terms of his speed and burst during the team's first OTA practice of this offseason. Hey, congratulations to a good friend of this podcast, Chris Nace, lead attorney for the Nace Law Group, accident and injury lawyers. Chris has been named a 2025 Law Dragon 500 leading plaintiff consumer lawyer. His dedication to justice and client advocacy continues to make a real impact. Also, congrats to Samantha Peters of the Nace Law Group. She was recently elected to the Board of Governors of the Trial Lawyers Association of Metropolitan Washington, D.C. Founded in 1979, the Nace Law Group is a Washington, D.C.-based family law firm that handles medical malpractice, personal injury, birth injury, legal malpractice, and consumer protection cases, offering aggressive advocacy for victims in Washington, D.C. and West Virginia. If you feel that you've been wronged, if you think that you've been wronged but aren't sure, contact the Nace Law Group, accident and injury lawyers, and schedule a no-obligation appointment. Call 202-902-7611 or visit WashingtonDCInjuryLawyers.com and tell the Nace Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. The Nace Law Group is outstanding. Chris Nace and the rest of the team do excellent work. They'll fight for you and your family. They can help you and your family make difficult decisions. So the Nace Law Group has recovered millions of dollars for the sick and injured. If you have a case, contact the Nace Law Group. Call 202-902-7611 or visit WashingtonDCInjuryLawyers.com and tell the Nace Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. That's 202-902-7611 or WashingtonDCInjuryLawyers.com. And make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. The Nace Law Group, accident and injury lawyers. More now on the Commanders, off them on Thursday concluding their 2025 mandatory minicamp and thus their 2025 offseason program. The Commanders on Thursday afternoon, by the way, did officially announce having signed safety and special teams ace Jeremy Reaves to a contract extension, what reportedly is a one-year contract extension, though both Reaves and head coach Dan Quinn confirmed that news in separate sessions with reporters on Wednesday afternoon. Quinn did a post-practice press conference early Thursday afternoon. During the opening statement of that presser, discussed the end of the team's 2025 offseason program, which started on April 22nd. Here you go.
Began the same week as the draft. And so we started with the players the 22nd, did the draft that weekend, and then over the next few weeks, we really pushed it hard on the skills. And then as we added the new players here, how would we onboard them, standards for it, got into some of the practice work, and then that finished today, where we got to see, where we're at. So it was a really meaningful, session for this off season for the guys to go. And perhaps one of my favorite parts is, having a time for their families to be here today. And maybe at some places, throughout the years, the end of a mini camp might have felt like one foot out the door. And what I thought was cool for me to watch from afar is the connection the team has had for one another. So on the day where that sometimes happens through the years, there was 100 kids and like another 100 adults hanging. And so that meant a lot, that they enjoy spending that time together as a big team. And so that was really cool. And then we have about 40 days till we get rolling again. And we had a couple guys talk about what that time looks like. Ken Norton and Wes Welker addressed the team onto that this morning. And I think between the two of them, they played about 25 or 26 years. So they know what training into that space looks like when you really want to go for it, and what that training looks like to be in that kind of shape to get ready. So it was a fun day.
All right, so the Commanders' 2025 offseason program is complete. It is impossible for anyone not with an NFL team to truly know whether that team's offseason program went well or was good or was successful or anything like that. But Dan Quinn, off in his first season as Commanders head coach, going 12-5 in the 2024 regular season and advancing to the NFC Championship game in the postseason, deserves the benefit of the doubt. So I'm willing to believe that the team's offseason program went well and was good and was successful. Every indication is that those things are true. We on Thursday afternoon had this back and forth between Commanders insider John Keim of ESPN and Dan Quinn.
When you look back on this period, what are maybe some things that stand out to the best thing you saw, or the where it highlights the growth maybe in what you hope to see in the program overall?
I love that we came back in really hungry to prove it, John. And that's, I think, a good sign, as opposed to, letting your skills go, down, or your eye not as sharp, or those things. So to come in with things specific to work on to go get better, that was big for me. And then to see people begin who were here year one to help the first-year players now, first-year free agents, first-year rookies get up to speed. When I see Nick Bellore over the last 3 days, teaching like he's a coach, that means a lot, because we don't ask Nick to do that, but that's how he pays it forward to the other guys here, and that's what a leader does, of helping get everybody ready. And so I saw him with Bill. I saw him with not just another linebacker, he was with a running back, talking through punt technique and what to do. And so that, to me, John, is what I'd hoped I'd see from developing leaders, that it doesn't just come from the coaches. Through my time, man, have I learned a lot from players over my last 25 years or so. So, that was cool to see.
Is that, you've been around other successful teams, is that different or more enhanced this year than what you've seen in the past?
For sure, more enhanced here this year. So the roster was pretty fluid, last year, and that was true even, into camp and into the season. Nick wasn't here last off season, so perhaps he might have done that, but we were all still, gaining our space together. And so he has proven that. And so I think that's a byproduct of, spending a lot of time together.
Sticking with this theme of bigger picture topics, by far the longest answer from Dan Quinn during his post-practice press conference on Thursday afternoon came via the exchange that I'm about to play for you. This exchange between Dada Hopkins of Pro Football Plus and Quinn. Here you go.
Looking through your eyes in your second year here, how clear is the picture being painted and all the pieces starting to fit together a little bit more in this second year?
Yeah, it was definitely at times a little messy, before. And so trying to figure out the unique things that the player has and how would we feature them in the program and how would we use them. And so that takes some process to go through. What I've loved about seeing the team now is just this connection that they have together. And so that's a really big deal for us. And I love that the, guys who've been in the program for 1 year are helping the ones that are entering into it. So, yeah, it's clearer because of the vision of what we think certain players can do. And now our job as coaches is to try to put them into those spaces where they can really excel, try to find the right scheme for that. How do we train them, for that specific skill or set? And so if we can do that really, really well, then I think then when you're called upon to do that specific thing, you should really nail that. So it's not every player, at wide receiver doing the same exact route tree. And Wes was a great example of that. Like, he ran option routes, as good as anybody in the world. He was so hard to cover, at 4 or 5 yards, outside leverage, inside. So he was difficult at that thing, and he became excellent at it. Compared to another player who might be, hey, I'm a down the field, route runner. So finding that thing that makes you so unique, that takes some time, takes some imagination. It takes a little bit of, with the new players, they may not even sure what that can be yet, but we're saying to, a free agent tall corner, hey, man, you can play down on the line. You may have not done that in college, but, we definitely think you can do that. So then they have to gain the confidence doing it. I want them to fail successfully sometimes. I'm going to try this technique, and it may not work. And then, okay, I liked it. And I can remember we had a conversation with a corner the other day. He was like, I got it. You could feel that moment when you talk to somebody and you know that the light just clicked. I love that feeling when you know it and the eyes go like I got that. I know how to do that. I can do that. So that's part of being an NFL rookie. Like, I belong. I know I can do this. You need those moments to show that you can do some things. Otherwise, the trip out's pretty quick because you don't have the belief in yourself to say, I can make this. I can make it happen, because then you won't really go for it. I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe I shouldn't go against him. I could look bad. You've got to go put it out there, even knowing it may not work out. And I think that can be hard. And, where you always want success, and I just want it to go exactly right. And then all of a sudden you're starting to try to be perfect and then all of a sudden you're playing slower because you're not going. And so there's a fine balance of being aggressive and making some mistakes. Okay, I got to tweak it, and being too perfect, too careful.
So Dan Quinn last season, again his first season as Commanders head coach, joined Joe Gibbs, George Allen, and Ray Flaherty as the only head coaches in franchise history to win multiple playoff games. Not just in season number 1 or in one season, but overall. Dan Quinn last season, again, his first season as Commanders head coach, joined Joe Gibbs and George Allen as the only head coaches in franchise history to win multiple playoff games in a single postseason. And Dan Quinn last season became the first head coach in franchise history to win at least 2 playoff games in his first season with the franchise. So what about an encore? High expectations for the Commanders in the 2025 season. The team has not had back-to-back winning regular seasons since 2015 and 2016. The team has not made the playoffs in back-to-back seasons since making the playoffs in each of 3 consecutive seasons, 1990 through 1992, a long time ago. All of these things hopefully will be changing this coming season. We on Thursday afternoon had this exchange between Candy Waller of Bowie TV Sports and Dan Quinn.
Hey, Coach. So it's June, but there's a lot of conversation and expectation around this team based on last year's success. Right. So how do you and we know in one of the ways you get down is it's week to week. Yep. So how do you try not to get too ahead of yourself as the staff and the players? Yeah, and to know that there are those, Candy, I think that's good because it knows we're in the right space. To do that, where we have a chance to go, do the things that are really, really important for us. So at the start of the off season, it was really just about what kind of skills we could get. And so we try to just live our professional lives in these segments. And so this is what we wanted to get accomplished during this time.
this is over the next little, in this break, and we're calling it a break. It's more for coaches and all of you, I hope, too, to recharge, to get ready. But for the players, this is another space that they go to really see. So then when we get back to training camp, I'll have some clear goals for us, packages, identity, play style, things that you couldn't do during this time. The padded practices, we're talking about the contact. So there's specific parts of that where, like the training camp piece, I would say that might be the most important time for a lineman compared to an off-season program, where you're working your skills, but you're not pushing against another, giant human. So those are specific things that you can only accomplish during that time. So we just try to segment it and not think too far down, but say, okay, what can I get done over this next short block? And if we stay in those pockets, Candy, I think that leads to not wandering way down, but just knowing I got a choice to make today and I got to go for it. And then, another one to come. But those choices are easy if you want to slip, not do the workout, but it is a choice and say, like, I really got to go. That's why so many times doing teammates working out together so much easier. Hey, come on, man, we're going, like, on those, especially the days you're like, maybe I'll chill. Like, no, you're not. Like, we're going at this time, and you go. So those are fun.
Well, a Commanders player who needs no help being motivated to work, of course, is the QB1 Jayden Daniels. There was not much Jayden Daniels conversation during this week's mandatory minicamp, but we on Thursday afternoon did get this exchange between Commanders insider Nikki Zavala of the Washington Post and Dan Quinn regarding Jayden Daniels.
How have you seen ways in which he's really shown a comfort with the system, the staff, just where he's at in his career and really taking command, no pun intended?
Yeah, I felt that I've always felt he had real control of things, and we work at the line of scrimmage a lot, and he's really comfortable in that. He was always somebody that really was on his details. What I guess seeing now is just the accuracy, the footwork, so more of his body mechanics that he wanted to emphasize. I see that coming through in his play. I see the speed, that he's, out on the edge with. So those are the things that during the off-season time that, like, you can really push it. So we had one where he had a keeper yesterday. He turned it in, where he was up the sideline for 30 or 40 yards. And he was one of the fastest players on the field on that play. And so those are the ones that, okay, that's a person being aggressive to go take their shot. And then I would say the individual time with new players, he did some of that last year. Honestly, like when Noah came, I can remember him like staying after and working with him, but seeing him put in the work with different people who are new to him and to the organization, I think that like speaks of the leadership. It's not anything that I asked him to do, but he knew for that person and him to be in sync, there had to be some unseen work together. And so those would be a few of the things.
The thing that most excites me about the Commanders' 2025 season is how well the team might do. The thing that provides the second most excitement for me about the Commanders' 2025 season is how well Jayden Daniels might do. You can't call him an elite NFL quarterback after just one NFL season, even if it was an all-time great rookie season. But what you can say are two things. A, he during that rookie season played like an elite NFL quarterback. And B, he is a prime candidate this coming season to springboard into being an elite NFL quarterback. Right now, there are a big four of elite NFL quarterbacks in the Kansas City Chiefs' Patrick Mahomes, the Baltimore Ravens' Lamar Jackson, the Buffalo Bills' Josh Allen, and the Cincinnati Bengals' Joe Burrow. How likely is Jayden Daniels this coming season making that big four a big five? Something to be thinking about during this break for the Commanders between their offseason program and training camp is the health of right guard Samuel Cosmi. Cosmi suffered a torn right ACL in the 45-31 win at the Detroit Lions this past January 18th in the divisional round of the playoffs. Whether he'll be ready for week 1 of the 2025 regular season, very much up in the air. Logic would suggest that if everyone is healthy, the Commanders' starting offensive line for week 1 of the 2025 regular season will be Laramie Tunsil at left tackle, Josh Cotterly Jr. at right tackle, Tyler Biadasz at center, Sam Cosmi at right guard if he's recovered from his torn right ACL, and Brandon Coleman at left guard. And if Cosmi is not recovered from his torn right ACL, then Andrew Wiley or Nick Allegretti is at right guard. Dan Quinn, in a recent installment of the Green Light with Chris Long podcast revealed that the Commanders are planning on having Brandon Coleman play left guard. Here was that.
I don't want to forget about Coleman, who I thought did a really nice job last year and probably has some versatility. What do you see in his future?
We're going to move him inside the guard.
Great.
And he had experience at both at TCU, playing inside and outside. We're going to keep him on the left side. And but as you may know, like in screens and getting out and getting downfield, and when you create space on defense like we do with our offense and no huddle and spreading it out, like the lineman who can get to the second level and get on people and stay on people, like Brandon Coleman can do that. He's got the quickness, Chris, of a tackle, but the size of a big guy.
All right, so Dan Quinn revealing that the Commanders are planning on having Brandon Coleman play left guard. So with all of this as a backdrop, we on Thursday afternoon had this exchange between the radio voice of the Commanders, Bram Weinstein, and Dan Quinn.
How are you thinking about the right side of the offensive line with Cosme recovering, a rookie at right tackle competing? How are you thinking about that as you head towards training camp?
Yeah, I know that with Sam, he's hitting all the benchmarks, but when does that, get there? I don't know. I'm not there yet to knowing like we're not going to miss one step with him. What I do know is that I love the competition that we have on the offensive line right now. At guards and centers and who's playing at right tackle and how we're working through the guys. So it'll take some work as we're going through into training camp. But those are the types of challenges like you want as a coach. It's not like who in the hell is going to play over here. It's more like this is going to be an absolute battle to see where it goes. So that's most of the times been my experience, Bram, where like the competition of one another like really pushes us forward and the whole group gets better.
Yeah, certainly some questions with the right side of the Commanders' offensive line. Is Josh Connerly up to the task of being the starting right tackle? Is Sam Cosme healthy? If not, who is the starting right guard? Another player who came up during Dan Quinn's post-practice press conference on Thursday afternoon was running back Chris Rodriguez Jr. We on Thursday afternoon had this exchange between Commanders insider David Harrison of SI.com and Dan Quinn.
And then I wanted to ask you about running back Chris Rodriguez. I know he had some really good moments for you guys last year. Bounced back and forth a little bit, kind of a role player, but this year made a conscious effort to slim down, get a little bit more compact. Kind of just what you've seen from that change from him this offseason.
Yeah, that was one of the things we discussed for him through the offseason, and he's really applied himself into that to make sure he can be at his absolute best. You're right, he made some really meaningful runs, and so if he could get himself into the best shape he's ever been in, that would give him the best chance for it. It's a very competitive running back room, but looking at the work Chris has done, over the last, 3 months or so, it's been significant.
All right, so Chris Rodriguez has slimmed down. I want to see more of Chris Rodriguez. The Commanders this past March 7th announced having extended an exclusive rights tender to Rodriguez. He had been set to be an exclusive rights free agent this offseason. The Commanders took Rodriguez in the 6th round of the 2023 NFL Draft out of the University of Kentucky. Rodriguez, over his 2 NFL regular seasons, has been productive when he has played. 86 carries for 420 yards and 4 touchdowns, an average of 4.88 yards per carry. And Rodriguez, over 9 games in the 2024 regular season, had 35 carries for 173 yards and 2 touchdowns, averaging 4.94 yards per carry and registering a rushing success rate of 74.3. A rushing success rate of 74.3 is outstanding. A rushing success rate, we've talked about this. It is the percentage of successful runs by a running back, with success defined as a first down run that gains at least 40% of the yards needed for a first down or a touchdown. A second down run that gains at least 60% of the yards needed for a first down or a touchdown. Or a third or fourth down run that gains at least 100% of the needed yards for a first down or a touchdown. Chris Rodriguez Jr., last regular season rushing success rate of 74.3. For comparison's sake, the Commanders' RB1, Brian Robinson Jr., his rushing success rate for the 2024 regular season was just 48.7. Now, yes, Robinson had a lot more carries than Rodriguez had, but still, that discrepancy is big, 74.3 to 48.7. The Commanders last August 27th, in their cut down to 53, released Rodriguez, but they on August 28th announced having signed Rodriguez to the practice squad. Rodriguez did not play on a single offensive snap in the 2024 regular season until the Commanders' 27-22 win at the New York Giants on November 3rd. He in that game had 11 carries for 52 yards. Rodriguez in the Commanders' 42-19 win over the Tennessee Titans at Northwest Stadium on December 1st had 13 carries for 94 yards and a touchdown. And Rodriguez in the Commanders' 30-24 overtime win over the Atlanta Falcons at Northwest Stadium on Sunday Night Football on December 29th to clinch a playoff spot had 5 carries for 16 yards and a touchdown and had 1 reception for 12 yards on 1 target. But those stats don't tell the entire story. The Commanders used Rodriguez to ice that game. The featured running back on the Commanders' 7th offensive drive was Rodriguez, who on the drive had 5 carries for 16 yards and a touchdown, but was a 2nd and goal, 2-yard under center toss touchdown run with 13:03 left in the fourth quarter. Rodriguez on the touchdown broke through an attempted tackle by cornerback A.J. Terrell Jr. en route to the end zone. Chris Rodriguez, he has slimmed down. To what extent will he be a factor at running back for the Commanders this coming season?
Yo, it's D-Lo. I'm partnering with Ro. Women, y'all feel that? It's sexy. But if you're stressing about your performance, it throws you off. That's why I rock with Rose Sparks. Rose Sparks dissolve under your tongue and hit fast so you're ready when the moment pops off. You feel like a superhero. It's satisfying your partner. That's key. Rose Sparks help you last longer, stay fuller, and keep the whole vibe right. When prescribed, new patients get $15 off their first order. Hit up ro.co/backyard and to see if Rose Sparks are right for you. That's ro.co/backyard and see if Rose Sparks are right for you.
Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved. Do not undergo FDA safety effectiveness or manufacturing review. For full safety information, go to ro.co/safety-info.
Hi, I'm Richard Karn, and you may have seen me on TV talking about the world's #1 expandable garden hose. Well, the brand new Pocket Hose Copperhead with Pocket Pivot is here, and it's a total game changer. Old-fashioned hoses get kinks and creases at the spigot, but the Copperhead's Pocket Pivot swivels 360 degrees for full water flow and freedom to water with ease all around your home. When you're all done, this rust-proof anti-burst hose shrinks back down to pocket size for effortless handling and tidy storage. Plus, your super light and ultra-durable Pocket Hose Copperhead is backed with a 10-year warranty. What could be better than that? I'll tell you what, an exciting radio-exclusive offer just for you. For a limited time, you can get a free Pocket Pivot and their 10-pattern sprayer with the purchase of any size Copperhead hose. Just text WATER to 64,000. That's WATER to 64,000 for your 2 free gifts with purchase. WATER to 64,000.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Pocket Hose. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at pockethose.com/terms.
Well, the Nats on Thursday afternoon fought. The boys battled, as Nats manager Davey Martinez likes to say, but the result was a 5th consecutive loss, a 4-3 loss at the New York Mets on Thursday afternoon to complete a 3-game sweep. The Nats lost despite scoring 3 runs in the top of the 9th. Mets reliever Ryan Stanek was charged with 3 runs without recording an out. The Mets had to go to their closer, Edwin Diaz. He faced 5 batters and got 3 outs for the save, but not before issuing a walk, giving up an RBI single, and issuing a run-scoring wild pitch. The Nats had the Mets on the ropes, but the Nats did not quite close the deal. And so the Nats in MLB's 2025 regular season now are 30-38. The Mets in this regular season now are a Major League best 45-24. The Nats in this game totaled 3 runs, 7 hits, and 2 walks, went 2 for 5 with runners in scoring position. All 7 of the hits were singles. All 3 of the runs that the Nats scored, 4 of the Nats' 7 hits, and 1 of the Nats' 2 walks all came in that top of the 9th, which went like this. C.J. Abrams single, James Wood single, Luis Garcia Jr. RBI single to cut the Nats deficit to 4-1. Nathaniel Lowe walk. Josh Bell RBI single to cut the Nats deficit to 4-2. Alex Call pop out with the bases loaded. Edwin Diaz 1 out, bases loaded, run scoring wild pitch to cut the Nats deficit to 4-3. But then Jose Tena ground out, and then Keibert Ruiz first pitch ground out to end the game because, of course, Ruiz swung at the first pitch. That is what he does, and Davey Martinez, very interestingly, did not pinch hit for K-Bit Ruiz. I thought that was the wrong call. A valiant effort by the Nats, but they came up short. Davey Martinez, during his post-game session with reporters, as best as I could tell, did not get asked about not pinch hitting for K-Bit Ruiz, but this was Martinez on the Nats hitting in that 3-run ninth, and then you'll hear a follow-up exchange.
Really good at bats. As I always say, we get ready for the fastball, we get the ball up. No matter what they throw, if we stay in the strike zone, we hit the ball hard. These guys, we knew Stanek threw hard. They were ready for the fastball. We hit a couple of splitters and really smoked them and stayed on the ball. Josh Bell, big hit the other way with Diaz staying on our fastball. So I love the at bats that last inning. So we got to take that, come back tomorrow and start those at bats from the first inning on. Those at bats were great.
What about the ones leading up to between?
Singa was just really good. He's just everything was. He kept everybody off balance. I know we were 2 strikes a lot, but he was really good, man. The fastballs and cutters that he threw were really nothing over the middle, the heart of the plate. So we had a battle all day. But like I said, at the end there, the bats came alive. We gave them a good run, and I'm proud of the guys for playing the way, hanging in there, and going out there and trying to finish and try to get that victory at the end.
Well, we heard Davey Martinez mention the Mets starting pitcher Kodai Senga. The Nats caught a big break in this game. Kodai Senga left the game due to injury. He tossed 5 2/3 scoreless innings with 5 strikeouts versus 1 walk, but he left the game due to suffering a hamstring strain and making a leaping catch of a high throw by first baseman Pete Alonso on a one-out groundout by C.J. Abrams in the top of the 6th. Also with the Nats offense in this game, James Wood had 3 of the Nats' 7 hits. He is the Nats starting left fielder and number 2 batter, went 3 for 4 with 3 singles. But look, still not enough offense by the Nats. They now, since scoring at least 9 runs in each of 4 consecutive games, have totaled a mere 18 runs over 10 games. The Nats starting pitcher in this 4-3 loss at the Mets on Thursday afternoon was Michael Soroka. He allowed 4 runs in 5 innings. He gave up just 3 hits, but they were 2 home runs and a single. He issued 3 walks and a hit by pitch. He did record 5 strikeouts. He threw 102 pitches, 62 strikes, 40 balls. Soroka in the bottom of the first gave up a 2-out 3-run homer by Jeff McNeil to right field for a 3-0 Mets lead, and the homer came off Soroka in the inning, issuing a leadoff walk of Francisco Lindor and a 1-out walk of ex-Nat Juan Soto. And Soroka in the bottom of the 5th gave up a 1-out solo homer by Brandon Nimmo to right field for a 4-0 Mets lead. So the homers and the walks are what doomed Soroka in this game. Michael Soroka now for this regular season, 8 starts, ERA of 5.14. He is doing some good things. His whip is just 1.12. His strikeouts per 9 innings is 8.57, but it's hard to ignore that ERA of 5.14. The run prevention just has not been there. Soroka was on the 15-day injured list April 4th, retroactive to April 1st to May 7th. Due to a right arm bicep strain. And the Nats bullpen in this 4-3 loss at the Mets on Thursday afternoon was good, although I'm still not sure how. 2 Nats relievers combined for 3 scoreless innings. Eduardo Salazar, how about his outing? He tossed 2 scoreless innings despite giving up a double and 2 singles and issuing 2 walks, and despite over 38 pitches, throwing just 18 strikes versus 20 balls. A total Houdini act by Eduardo Salazar. And Zach Brixey, he tossed the scoreless bottom of the 8th despite giving up a leadoff double and despite shortstop C.J. Abrams committing a one-out throwing error. Next up for the Nats is a 7-game homestand beginning with a 3-game series against the National League East worst Miami Marlins, who have the 2nd worst record in the National League. This 7-game homestand is comprised of 7 games against the 2 worst teams in the National League, including the Major League worst, Colorado Rockies. So this homestand is a prime opportunity for the Nats to stack some wins. To me, this is 5-2 minimum for the Nats. Game 1 against the Marlins, Friday evening at 6:45. Mitchell Parker will be the Nats starting pitcher. Game 2 Saturday afternoon at 1:05. Trevor Williams will be the Nats starting pitcher. Game 3 Sunday afternoon at 1:35. Mackenzie Gore will be the Nats starting pitcher.
You just realized that you needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job posts seen on other job sites. Indeed sponsored jobs help you stand out and hire fast. With sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates so you can reach the people that you want faster. And it makes a huge difference. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Plus, with Indeed sponsored jobs, there's no monthly subscriptions, no long-term contracts, and you only pay for results. How fast is Indeed? Well, in the minute I've been talking to you, 23 hires were made on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. There's no need to wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/BWN. Just go to Indeed.com/BWN right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/BWN. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Hi, I'm Richard Karn, and you may have seen me on TV talking about the world's #1 expandable garden hose. Well, the brand new Pocket Hose Copperhead with Pocket Pivot is here, and it's a total game changer. Old-fashioned hoses get kinks and creases at the spigot, but the Copperhead's Pocket Pivot swivels 360 degrees for full water flow and freedom to water with ease all around your home. When you're all done, this rust-proof anti-burst hose shrinks back down to pocket size for effortless handling and tidy storage. Plus, your super light and ultra-durable Pocket Hose Copperhead is backed with a 10-year warranty. What could be better than that? I'll tell you what, an exciting radio-exclusive offer just for you. For a limited time, you can get a free Pocket Pivot and their 10-pattern sprayer with the purchase of any size Copperhead hose. Just text WATER to 64,000. That's WATER to 64,000 for your 2 free gifts with purchase. WATER to 64,000.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Pocket Hose. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at pockethose.com/terms.
The Orioles, with Mike Elias as executive vice president and general manager, are big on analytics. The team on Thursday evening went with an opener. The strategy worked out fairly well, but the starting pitcher who the O's faced is someone who is so good that it at times feels like it does not matter what strategies you employ in a game against him. The O's on Thursday evening got, shall we say, Skubal. A 4-1 loss to the Detroit Tigers at Oriole Park at Camden Yards to lose 2 out of 3 games in the series. The O's at MLB's 2025 regular season now are 27-40, third worst record in the American League. The Tigers in this regular season now are an American League best 45-25. The O's in this game totaled just 1 run and just 4 hits, went 0 for 1 with runners in scoring position. The O's did work 3 walks. The 4 hits were a home run and 3 singles, but the O's got stymied by Tigers ace Tarik Skubal. He tossed 7 scoreless innings with 6 strikeouts. Skubal now, for this regular season, 14 starts, ERA of 1.99, whip of 0.81, 111 strikeouts versus 9 walks. Let me repeat that. 111 strikeouts versus 9 walks. Just incredible. Here was Orioles interim manager Tony Mansolino during his postgame press conference on Thursday night on Tarik Skubal, and then you'll hear a follow-up exchange with O's insider Rich Dubroff of BaltimoreBaseball.com.
We missed him twice, both games last year, and I think we probably paid the price for that this year, and we got him both times. So I think somebody said he had 6 punch-outs. Is that right? Yeah. I think that's the positive for us. I mean, we battled. We put the ball in play. You know, he's doing that to everybody right now. So, tip your cap to him.
When you have a pitcher that good, do you just sort of feel like, well, this guy's so good, we can't do anything on him?
I mean, I don't think that's what you're feeling before the game. I think maybe after the game you understand why the hitters didn't score 8 today, and I think that's fair. I mean, I think none of us really want to stand in the box against him. It's probably why we're sitting in this room right now. But no, when you go in the game, I think the way you're beating that guy is it's a walk, it's a double, it's a 3-run homer, something along those lines. You got to get guys on base, right? And the guy's battled, punched out only 6 times against probably the best pitcher in baseball right now. I think you kind of take some solace in that.
Well, 3 of the Orioles' 4 hits were by Dylan Carlson. He is the Orioles starting left fielder and number 8 batter, went 3 for 3 with a solo homer and 2 singles. The O's in this 4-1 loss to the Tigers on Thursday evening went with an opener in reliever Keegan Aiken. He tossed a scoreless top of the first with 2 swinging strikeouts despite giving up a leadoff double and issuing a 2-out walk. Starting pitcher Dean Kramer then came in. He allowed 4 runs in 7 innings. He gave up 5 hits, which were 2 home runs and 3 singles. He issued 2 walks, did record 8 strikeouts, and did throw a lot of strikes, 105 pitches, 69 strikes versus 36 balls. And the only other reliever used by the O's in this game was Andrew Kittredge. He tossed a scoreless top of the 9th. Next up for the O's is a 3-game series against the Los Angeles Angels at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. Game 1 Friday night at 7:08. Charlie Morton will be the Orioles starting pitcher. Game 2 Saturday afternoon at 4:05. Tomoyuki Sagano will be the Orioles starting pitcher. Game 3 Sunday afternoon at 1:35. Cade Povich will be the Orioles starting pitcher. And that'll do it for you and me for now. Keep the feedback coming. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me, the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Monday show, episode 1095. We'll have a lot for you on the Commanders. Also on Monday show, I'll talk Nationals and Orioles. The Nats this weekend have a 3-game series against the Miami Marlins at Nationals Park. The O's this weekend have a 3-game series against the Los Angeles Angels at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. Have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you on Monday.
We are the Commanders. We are the Commanders.
The Commanders. The Washington Commanders.
That's right.
Oh, wow. You didn't waste any time there.
There it is.
You set the gold standard for your business. Your website should do the same. Wix puts you at the helm, so you can enjoy the creative freedom of designing your site just the way you want. Want someone to bounce your ideas off? Talk with AI to create a beautiful site together. Whatever your business, manage it from one place and tie it all together with a personalized domain name. Gear up for success with a brand that says you best. You can do it yourself on Wix.